All right, folks, all eyes have been trained on Lower Manhattan this morning. That's where U.S. District Court heard a lawsuit from Fed Governor Lisa Cook. This, of course, filed against President Trump to prevent her removal from office. Now, the judge given Lisa Cook's lawyer until Tuesday to file a response to the government's opposition. And she also wants to hear the next steps from both parties then at that time. Now, observers believe this case will likely end up in the Supreme Court due to, let's face it, a sharp rise in activist judges in recent years. The Federal Reserve, though, folks, is part of the organizational chart of the executive branch. And so in terms of purview and oversight, listen, the president nominates Fed governors, so many things the president should be able to terminate their employment as well. Of course, all of that centers around and focuses on the term for clause with respect to presidential authority. Now, we kind of know what it means in general termination for cause, but not necessarily applied here. My next guest, in the meantime, filed an emergency amicus brief on behalf of President Trump, Azoria founder, CEO James Fishback, and he joins us now. James, so exactly what is this amicus brief? What is it about, and what's the goal?
Well, good afternoon, Charles. The goal is very simple: to restate from the perspective of an institutional investment firm like Azoria that President Trump doesn't just have the legal right to remove Lisa Cook for cause. Of course, she committed fraud. But the most important thing was to address these allegations from Cook in her filing that not being able to remove her would actually protect the financial markets. And that's preposterous. Think about this for a second, Charles. The Federal Reserve governors like Lisa Cook have to go out and stop mortgage fraud. They have to protect our financial institutions. They have to conduct regulatory and stress tests at small and large banks across the country. The same person who's entrusted with guarding against fraud is now credibly accused of fraud. That would torch every last bit of credibility the Federal Reserve has left. And so if the Federal Reserve is going to be entrusted with protecting our banks and our financial system, you cannot have someone named Lisa Cook, that little deceitful miscreant, being credibly accused of financial fraud in that position.
So there are two elements here, the legal and ethical, right? And I was surprised to see a comment in The Economist, right, which has gone far left in recent years. And I want to read it for the audience, right? It says, given Ms. Cook is a financial regulator, it would be hard for her to stay in her post if the allegations were more substantiated, even if she were not convicted, and regardless of motivations of those making the accusation. So here's a far-left financial magazine known for 100 years saying the better part of valor would be for her to step aside.
That is exactly right. It would be the best thing for her, honestly, but also the best thing for the country. We are 19 days away from the September Fed meeting. And just think about this, Charles. The Supreme Court of the United States may need to step in to block this woman from trying to show up to vote. This is not how you conduct business in the most powerful economy in the world. This is like a third world African republic with a pegged currency that the central bank is coming in to sue the president, and the Supreme Court needs to get involved. This is precisely what Lisa Cook is trying to do. And let's be honest, this affects Fed credibility far more than the president of the United States removing her for a legitimate reason.
I got less than a minute to go, but can we just cut to the chase? Should a president be allowed to stack the Federal Reserve in a way that would, help them with their economic agenda? We know that de facto that's what's been going on anyway. We had 3 Fed officials leave. Joe Biden was able to put in people that backed his point of view. Should we just cut to the chase and say that should be part of the job?
Well, no, Charles, I think you and I are big believers of the merit system, and I know President Trump is as well. You got to put high quality people in there like Chris Waller, my friend, the Fed governor, who yesterday at the Economic Club of Miami pointed out that we need to be cutting rates, not just in September, but several times over the next 3 to 6 months. The truth of the matter is that Lisa Cook was not a qualified person. Her most well-known paper was about racial patent applications in the 1870s. Nothing about central banking, nothing about monetary policy. That is an abomination. I trust that President Trump will pick them good and pick them right using the merit system for the Federal Reserve appointments.
I really hope that we can also leverage this at some point to talk about the National Bureau of Economic Research. I think that is really an area where a lot of these problems emanate from as well. James, thank you very much. We'll talk again real soon.